Before I begin my Devar Torah, my sermon today, I just really want to extend my sincere thank you to my mentor and to Rabbi Arthur Wiener for going through this sermon with me very thoroughly and revision after revision, and to my truly amazing fiancée, Naima Hirsch, for doing the same and for helping me. And to everyone here, really, for coming out and being together, even virtually, even in the midst of Omicron, coming to study words of Torah with me and learn. And thank you. What is Judaism? What is something that, theoretically, all Jews share? What connects to otherwise unconnected Jews in the way that all Americans are bound by nationality, or all Buddhists by the teaching and philosophy of the Buddha? Is it a religion? Is Judaism an ethnicity, a philosophy, a lifestyle? When someone says they're Jewish, what do they mean by that? That they have a Jewish mother, a Jewish parent, that they converted, that they go to synagogue, keep kosher, eat bagels, cream cheese, and lox, are involved in social justice movements. The 2020 Pew Survey on Jewish Identity in America asked American Jews to pick from among 10 options to select what an essential part of being Jewish was to them. Now, these 10 options probably say more about the survey makers than they do about the Jews who answered the survey, but they included among them remembering the Holocaust, leading a moral life, working for justice and equality in society, carrying on family traditions, caring about Israel, eating Jewish foods, and observing Jewish law. Now, the vast majority of Jews, 76%, identified remembering the Holocaust as the essential part of being Jewish. 59% said the same about working for justice in society. 34% said Jewish humor was an essential part of being Jewish, and 20% said Jewish foods. Now, I've long thought about this exact question. What is the essence of Judaism? And how to explain it all regel achat, on one foot, as it were. It isn't our skin color. Jews come in all colors. It isn't our food. Jews eat all sorts of food from all over the world. The only food that we have in common is our ritual food. Matzah on Passover, apples and honey on Rosh Hashanah. It isn't our clothing. Once again, our wardrobes are varied. The only common piece of clothing that we have, again, is ritual. Tzitzit. It isn't humor or philosophy or culture. All of these vary wildly across Jews. And Holocaust remembrance, as one of the essences of Judaism, would be to let the existence of anti-Semitism define what Judaism is. Now, I cannot accept that as the case, for if that were true, it would mean in the absence of anti-Semitism, Judaism would cease to exist. What about Hillel's answer? Al regel achat. Da'alach snei lechaverach la ta'aved, zohi kul haTorah kula. That which is hateful to you, do not do to your neighbor. This is the entire Torah. To be honest, I've never been satisfied with that answer. Every religion, every moral philosophy has some variation on the golden rule. There are plenty of rules in Judaism about fairness, about treating the stranger well, about social justice. But those rules aren't unique to us. The value of working for justice and equality in society, as the Pew Survey puts it, is, or should be, a universal one. All of humanity should be worried about loving the stranger. That's not a unique inheritance of Judaism. Now, Rashi notices this as well. In his commentary on Hillel's answer in Masechet Shabbat, he identifies the neighbor there as being God, and understands that Hillel means do not violate God's commandments. Rashi finds it hard to accept the essence of Judaism as just being the golden rule. But let's consider the rest of Hillel's lesson. It concludes, V'idach perushahu zil gemor. The rest is commentary. Go and study. This, I think, is even more important than the beginning of his answer. Go and study. Learn it all. You can't stop at just doing what is not. You can't stop at just not doing what is hurtful, whether that is to your neighbor or to God. There are laws to learn. Go and study them. Ve'elah Mishpatim asher tasim lifneihem. And these are the laws that you should put before them. We begin this week's Parashat Mishpatim, mid-speech. God has just been talking to Moshe at the end of the previous Parsha. Immediately after the revelation at Mount Sinai, after the 10 Commandments, God instructed Moshe to tell the Israelites they should worship no foreign gods, but instead build an altar of unhewn stone and worship God alone. Ve'elah hamishpatim. And these are the laws. The code that follows and the 10 Commandments that preceded it are one indivisible unit. Rashi notes at the beginning of his commentary on Mishpatim that the word ve'elah serves to link the list of commandments that follow directly to what came before, the 10 Commandments at Mount Sinai. All of them are all a part of the revelation our ancestors received. We move directly from the laws of building the altar to laws of honestly dealing with slaves and maidservants. There is no separation there between ethical laws and religious laws in the law code. We began with, I am the Lord your God. We mentioned Shabbat, honoring one's parents, murder, theft, adultery. And this is all preamble. The elah hamishpatim. And these are the laws. Moshe instructs the Israelites about murder, idolatry, injury, offering your first fruits to God, property, loving the stranger, the Shemitah year, not taking bribes, and holidays. Classically, Jews have distinguished between mishpatim, laws with a discernible rational basis, laws that any nation might have, and chukim, statutes given by God, religious edicts for which there is no logical explanation. But the law code in Parashat Mishpatim does not make those distinctions. All laws are equally incumbent upon Israel. All are part of our covenant with God. Whether we can discern a logical reasoning for the law or not, all of the laws were given to sanctify us, to connect us with God. In Mishpatim, it is just as important to God that we observe the Sabbath and that we protect the widow and the orphan. Both are important. Ve'elah hamishpatim. As a people, as Jews, we've struggled to uphold these laws, this combination of the sacred and the ethical. Some of us have different struggles than others. There are those who are, in the words of Ramban, an aval b'reshut Torah, a scoundrel following after the Torah, who are so focused on the letter of the religious laws that they forget the moral ones. I speak to you today as a conservative Jew who grew up in a conservative household. And I firmly believe that, in general, we do not have this problem in conservative Judaism. Instead, we face the opposite problem. We, as rabbis, teachers, and leaders of the conservative movement, have abandoned any expectation that conservative Jews should follow the religious laws of Judaism. We focus on just one half of the covenant. Now, how many times have I heard a rabbi exhort from their congregation what we read this week? V'ger lo tilchatz ve'atem yadatem et nefesh hager ki gerim haytem be'eretz Mitzrayim. You shall not oppress the stranger, for you know the soul of the strangers, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt. And they should exhort their congregation on this verse. It is an important verse. But almost never have I heard a conservative rabbi urge, with a similar passion, the verse just 4 verses later, Sheshet yamim ta'aseh ma'asecha, uvayom hashvi'i tishbot. 6 days you shall work, and on the 7th day, rest. We hold conservative Jews to a high ethical standard, as we should. But we have no expectations that our communities will perform the slightest observance of religious laws. Ve'elah Mishpatim asher tasim lifneihem. These are the laws that you should set before them. We learn in the Talmud, in Tractate Eruvin, Daf 54b, that from this verse we are chayav leharot lo panim. That is, we are obligated to teach the law's reasoning. Rashi, quoting the Mechilta de Rabbi Ishmael back in his commentary on Mishpatim, notes that our explanations should be like a table set out for eating, a shulchan aruch. But we have not lived up to that charge. I grew up in a conservative household, going to a conservative synagogue, and it was not until my 20s I learned, as an example, why cooking counted as work on Shabbat. Shabbat, kashrut, holidays, all ritual matters. These were generally spoken from the pulpit of the shul I attended as generally positive things for really good Jews to do. There was no sense that I had to act on them in the same way that I had to observe the ethical laws. No description of what I had to do, no sense of obligation or covenant. That which made us as Jews most unique, that special religious obligation of the Jewish people, was functionally a footnote. That cannot be our model. We, as future leaders, as people dedicated to the future of Jews and Judaism, have to make the mitzvot accessible to everyone. We have to be warm, welcoming, and encouraging, and make it as easy and convenient to learn how to be a religious Jew as it is to eat from a set table. And we don't need to judge those who aren't perfect. There is no such thing as being perfect, in civil laws as well as religious laws. We need to accept people where they are, and we also need to encourage them to continue along their journey. Just as we encourage our fellow Jews to walk the road of moral self-improvement without condemning them where they are, so too we should always encourage our fellow Jews to be improving in matters of religious law as well. Ve'elah hamishpatim asher tasim lifneihem. After the Israelites left Egypt, we gathered at Mount Sinai. God spoke to us, gave us the 10 Commandments, and gave us the law code. That law, our unique inheritance, formed us into one people. It binds us across space. It connects us across time. Every mitzvah performed, every action taken in the pursuit of that code strengthens the ties between us. And it doesn't matter how perfect that action taken is. The businesswoman in America who turns down the pork dumplings at a company lunch because of kashrut is at that moment linked with a Haredi woman in Israel checking the hechsher in her local supermarket. The young boy in England who puts down his phone for Shabbat and then goes and helps his mother cook a meal because that's what he knows, in that moment is connected with the yeshiva boy in Argentina welcoming in the Shabbat queen with song and prayer and dance at his shul. We celebrate our uniqueness as Jews by celebrating that which is unique to us, our covenant, our mitzvot. When we perform a mitzvah, we are not only linked vertically to God, but horizontally to each other. We become a part of one people. When we engage in what makes us unique as Jews, when we bridge all other lines that divide us. We bridge sect. We bridge culture, custom, and language. We can be one tribe. We can understand each other. Solomon Schechter, in an address to this very school 100 years ago, over 100 years ago, put it best. Comparing Maimonides and Rashi, he noted how little the two had in common. In his words, the one spoke Arabic, the other French. The one had all the advantages of Eastern civilization, the other lived in the barbaric West. The one was a merchant, afterwards a famous physician in the great capitals of Cordoba and Cairo. The other was a rabbi without a salary in an unimportant provincial city. But as they both observed the same fasts and feasts, as they both revered the same sacred symbols, though they put different interpretations on them, as they both prayed in the same language, Hebrew, as they were both devoted students of the same Torah, though they differed in its explanation. In one word, as they studied the Torah and lived in accordance with its laws, and both made the hopes of the Jewish nation their own, the bonds of unity were strong. It is our task as rabbis, as teachers, as leaders, as fellow Jews, to create those bonds of unity, of connection. It is our job to make sure that no matter where any of our congregants or students or colleagues go, when they meet a Jew, they're at home. That they know there is something that connects them to Jews around the world, no matter the differences between them. I truly believe that that something that connects us is the mitzvot, the Torah, our unique, strange, and yes, even sometimes antiquated practices separate us from all other peoples. They make us a nation apart, an Am Kadosh, a holy nation. Every mitzvah offers the path to connect to both God and the Jewish people. Every religious act gives us purpose. We're Jews. We're here. We are one people. And no matter our differences in philosophy, clothing, color, diet, or even interpretation of the mitzvot, nothing can change that. Ve'eleh hamishpatim asher tasim lifneihem. These are the laws you should put before them. Ve'idach pirusha hu zil gemor. The rest is commentary. Go and study. Please rise if you are able for Kaddish de Rabbanan. Yikadal v'yikadash shemei Rabbah, ve'amad yivra ki yutei ve'amlich malchutei, v'chayechon u'vyomachon u'chayei l'chol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala v'zman kariv v'imru, Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam olamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitbar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei l'kudsha b'richu. Le'elah min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata, damiram be'alma v'imru, Amen. Al Yisrael ve'al Rabbanan ve'al Talmidehon, ve'al kol Talmidehon, ve'al kol man de'askim be'araita, di bi'atra hadein v'di b'chol atar ve'atar, yehelachon ochon shlam araba, china v'chista v'rachamin, v'achin arichin unzonav ravicha, uvkarna mikadam avuhon di v'shmaya v'imru, Amen. Yehi shlam araba min shemaya, v'chaim tovim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru, Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu berachamav ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Thank you so much for being here with me today. Thank you again to Rabbi Wiener for mentoring me, my fiancée Ne'ima for going over this with me, to everyone who can make it out today, my friends, family, thank you for all your support, and I hope you have a wonderful day.